questions? Without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce Katie Cole, Director of Marketing, and Rachel Porter, Special Programs Coordinator. Welcome, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Cindy. This is Rachel Porter, Special Programs Coordinator in the Office of the Secretary of State. And thank you here to all of our participants on the webinar about Viva Florida 500, a look into the future. And as you can glean from the title today, we're going to tell you our vision for where this program is heading in the future. It's also going to be an opportunity to update you on our successes over the past 10 months. Most importantly, you'll learn how you, our partners, have been and can continue to be involved and benefit from Viva Florida as we go forward. But before we go into that detail, I first want to introduce two other very important persons here in the room with us. We're honored to have the Secretary of State, Ken Dutzner, join us today. He is the Chief Cultural Officer and Chief Elections Officer for our state, and he is the driving force behind Viva Florida 500. We're also joined by Carrie Post, Deputy Secretary of State for Cultural, Historical, and Information Programs, and fellow Viva Diva. Welcome to you both. I also want to acknowledge Madison Elkin on the line, calling in from Dothan, Alabama. Madison is our social media Viva Diva, so welcome, Madison. So that you know what to expect of this webinar, the topics we're going to cover, as mentioned, are going to consider the past 10 months of Viva Florida 500, and we'll summarize the year with some of our highlights. Then we'll move to looking ahead, where we will detail some of the interesting feedback we've received from partners and consumers. Here we will also talk about the future of Viva Florida and new resources and value being added for our partners. We'll hope that you will start to think about how you and your organization can continue to build on Viva Florida, and you can see the ways that you can stay engaged. Along the way in this webinar, we do invite you to ask questions by typing them into the Q&A panel Cindy mentioned. And please do ask them as we go. We'll answer them at various intervals throughout. And then we'll also have a final question and answer session at the end. So to get us started today, please welcome Secretary Dutzner. Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you, Rachel. Again, good morning to everybody. This has been an exciting and successful year for Florida. Thanks to many of you for working with us on Viva Florida 500. As a grassroots initiative, I'll hold for a second. Okay. Good. As a grassroots initiative, the success of Viva Florida 500 has relied heavily on partnerships and leveraging existing resources and skills. We now have over 2,000 partners involved at the state and local level, including many businesses, municipalities, not-for-profits, educational organizations, local destination marketing organizations, as well as many of you. To date, we have promoted more than 850 events around the state in all 67 counties. And I'm looking forward to leaving the webinar this morning and going over to the Leon County Courthouse, where they'll be closing the time capsule this morning. And I've been looking forward to that for months. It's been a contest locally, and I think it's going to be a great event this morning. In addition, there have been 50 national, state, county, city resolutions and proclamations specifically about Florida's 500-year anniversary. Viva Florida 500 in 2013 has proved to be a success for building and promoting Florida's rich and diverse cultural heritage, and I'm excited about the future of the program. This is not the end, but rather the beginning of many Viva Floridas in the months and years ahead. I hope you'll leave this conversation this morning today with an understanding how Viva Florida can help you and your organizations, and how together we can continue to build upon Viva Florida in the years to come. Thank you all for participating in this webinar and continuing to work with the Department of State as Viva Florida 500 and Viva Florida 500's organization move together. I also just want to take a point of a personal privilege. This is our last webinar in a series that we've had this week, and thank the entire staff of the Department of State, Rachel, Carrie, Melissa, Cindy, everybody, Katie, who have contributed over this last year and will be continuing to put together a program for Viva Florida in days, months, and years ahead. So thank you to all of them. They have done a remarkable job with no money but a lot of passion. So I want to thank each and every one of them for everything they've done. It's been very rewarding. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Secretary Dessner, for that very warm welcome and for your continuous support. My name is Katie Cole, and I'm the Director of Marketing here at the Department of State. As the lead agency for Viva Florida 500, our strategic goals this year have been to provide leadership and facilitate collaboration to generate business development, create economic opportunities through public and private partnerships, recognize 500-plus years of Florida's rich history and cultural diversity through outreach and education, hold a Viva Florida 500 event in all 67 counties, and finally, generate cultural heritage tourism to expand the perception of Florida. We can confirm that we have met all of these goals, and the research that we will discuss later in the presentation stands behind that statement. This year so far, Viva Florida 500 has promoted more than 850 events in all 67 counties, collaborated with more than 2,000 partners, through social media, communicated with over 5,000 followers on Facebook and Twitter, had over 133,000 unique visitors to the vivaflorida.org website since relaunching the site in January of 2013, influenced 50 national, state, county, and city resolutions and proclamations specifically about Florida's 500-year anniversary, and through our great partners at Visit Florida, who pitch story ideas year-round for Viva Florida 500, we have secured over 326 million media impressions, which is the number of people who may have seen an article or read something about Viva Florida 500 on a website or blog. I now want to turn the presentation over to the Department of State's Deputy Secretary, Carrie Post, to highlight many of Viva Florida partnerships.
Thank you, Katie. And again, as you heard Secretary Dessner say, Viva Florida 500, the whole initiative, there was no dedicated funding, no dollars for marketing campaigns. So truly the success of this whole initiative has relied solely on our partnerships. Really, they have been the ones that had the local level, the passion, and using their existing resources and rebranding existing events, all to kind of jump on board the Viva Florida 500 platform. And I can tell you, this is the first time I can recall in modern memory that Florida as a state truly has recognized its history and its culture from a state level. So it's really a very interesting time, and again, we would not be where we are today without all of our partners. I want to highlight a few of our strategic partners today, but again, it's our local partners. It's really taken the whole group of statewide partners to make this initiative so successful. Katie mentioned Visit Florida. Earlier, they have been an outstanding partner. They produced a number of public service announcements, developed some advertising, did a lot of public relations and social media campaigns specific to Viva Florida 500. They did a lot of media pitching, satellite media tours, and media familiarization tours, and they were an integral partner in the Galleon tour that came to the state that you're going to hear about a little bit later. But Visit Florida truly, like I said, has been a great partner. In fact, President and CEO Will Seckham attributed, as you all probably know, this so far has been a record year for tourism, a record number of visitors, and Will has certainly attributed part of the success of this year due to the platform of Viva Florida 500 and recognizing the anniversary. So again, we're real excited to be a big partner with them on that. The Florida Lottery, again, has been a great partner, as you all may recall, and hopefully even bought a few tickets. The Florida Treasure Hunt. It was a Viva Florida scratch-off game that launched in January. The ticket included an online interactive second chance game that featured 300 historic sites statewide and vacation packages from Visit Florida. So again, this was a great opportunity to highlight historic sites all around the state, and the sales from the ticket contributed to more than $2.3 million to education in the state. So again, very successful program, and the lottery reported that it was their most successful $3 ticket in the history of the lottery. So again, we're very excited to partner with them on that. The Florida Department of Transportation, I'm sure many of you all have seen the signage placed all around the state
showcasing historic sites. There's information at the rest areas, Viva Florida posters, signage as you come into the state of Florida. So DOT, again, they've also been a great partner along with Lottery and Visit Florida in really helping to raise the visibility of the initiative. The Florida Humanities Council, again, has been a very important strategic partner in the fact they are our primary educational partner, that they've really done a lot to reach out to Florida teachers. They have a website, teachingflorida.org, and I encourage you all, if you've not checked it out, please do so. It is an amazing resource. They have teacher training, lesson plans. It's just a lot of interactive. There's videos. There's audio. So check out teachingflorida.org. So, again, they've been great. They've provided grants for specific Viva Florida community projects. Again, what they do with the teachers and the educational standpoint has been great, and we look forward to continuing a partnership with them, and as well as Visit Florida and the Lottery and DOT in the future. Also like to recognize Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. They're another great partner. This year, the Florida State Fair was themed a Viva Florida theme. They had a cow conquistador, and so a lot of great partners, education there. They produced a traveling exhibit, speaker series. Commissioner Putnam has been very much a supporter of Viva Florida 500. Again, they've done a number of programs and had features on their website. And a matter of fact, recently they were at a Georgia Ag Expo, and their whole area was themed to Viva Florida, so they're taking it outside the state as well. Department of Environmental Protection, Florida State Parks specifically, they've been an early partner with us, and they've added a lot this year, not only promoting Viva Florida and their 171 park properties, but a lot on their website, events. They've rebranded existing historical reenactment, cultural events, et cetera. The Florida Folk Festival this year in White Springs was themed Viva Florida 500. So state parks, they've been a terrific partner. Also libraries. They've been incredibly active partners in communities all around the state. You heard Secretary Detzner reference the time capsules. Through the state libraries, they provided time capsules to every county in the state and gave each county latitude to do what they want to do, how they want to represent their community in the time capsule, when and where they want to bury it, and when they want to open it, and all that. So there's a lot of that activity going on right now. And again, libraries have played an integral role in that. They've done a lot of educational programming and events, and libraries have absolutely dedicated time and resources to Viva Florida 500. So I also want to mention Florida Association of Museums, Florida African American Heritage Preservation Network, and many destination marketing organizations around the state have really been great partners. So again, I just would like to say thank you all very much. We're very, very grateful to all of our partners, organizations, individuals, et cetera, who have joined with us and collaborated on Viva Florida 500 to really present our history and culture in very innovative ways. So, again, thank you all very much, and I'm going to turn it back over to Katie Cole.
Actually, I'm going to take it over. Thank you so much, Carrie. I appreciate your comments there, and loads of great partnerships that you've highlighted, and some that we haven't, but the strength really is in our partnerships, and not only us working with our partners, but our partners working together amongst themselves, and it's really a great way of working, so we've really enjoyed this time this year with our partners. At this time, we are going to take a short break for questions that have been coming in through the Q&A panel. Remember, if you do want to ask a question, that's just simply type in the question at the bottom there on the right-hand side of your screen.
We have a question. Where can I see the Visit Florida public service announcements?
Those public service announcements are, they were broadcast earlier in the year, predominantly out of state. However, they can be viewed again. They're on YouTube, and they're fed through our vivaflorida.org page. It's multimedia through vivaflorida.org.
Okay, and we have another question. When can libraries expect to receive their wildflower seeds?
Well, that's a great question. We actually just got word earlier this week that the wildflower seeds have been sent to all of the libraries. There were some issues as far as weather is concerned. Florida's had a lot of rain this year, and because of that kind of postponed the production of the seeds, but they are out. Libraries should be receiving them soon, and Amy Johnson will be in touch with each library individually regarding their wildflower seeds.
And again, folks, you can type your questions into the chat panel or into Q&A. And I see we have another question. Where will information be posted about wildflower ceremonies?
Well, the wildflower ceremonies, as they take place around the state, should be entered into the vivaflorida.org events page. There's a place where you can submit your event. So if you're having a wildflower planting ceremony, please do make sure you submit that to the website. And that's where the public will be able to view it. So vivaflorida.org events. And actually, if you're having any kind of event, not even just a wildflower event, go ahead and make sure you submit that Viva Florida event to the vivaflorida.org events page.
I do not see any more questions at this time, but folks, as you think of your questions, please type those into chat or Q&A there on the right-hand side.
Thanks, indeed. So there have been many partners around the state, as we were highlighting earlier, and they created these Viva Florida 500 events, or in some cases rebranded existing events to incorporate the 500th anniversary. And that led to the accomplishment of holding a Viva Florida 500 event or activity in all 67 counties. And since we're not really able to talk about them all here today, we do want to take just a moment to highlight a few events and projects. First, Viva Florida 500 kicked off on New Year's Eve in Miami with the Big Orange Drop from the Intercontinental Hotel. And that important partnership with the City of Miami rebranded the event as a Viva Florida 500 signature event called La Gran Naranja, meaning the Big Orange in Spanish. And that was a recognition that the Spaniards brought the orange to Florida in the 16th century, and that today the orange is a symbol of our state. And then another ongoing signature project, which has created a series of events in 2013, is Expedition Florida 500. And that's an adventure by a team of stand-up paddleboarders who circumnavigated the state and raised awareness of Florida's waterways and our natural and cultural resources, predominantly using Facebook to connect with around 13,500 people, and many others, I'm sure, that are not on social media. And they'll have visited 51 state parks by the time they finish on December 31st, and they've actually won a national award for Expedition of the Year from SUP Magazine. Then in April of this year, during the week where most historians agree that the ships carrying Juan Ponce de Leon and his crew, when they sighted land and came ashore, which is April 2nd, that week there was a flurry of events for Viva Florida 500. That was our Viva Florida 500 week, as the governor proclaimed on April 1st, 2013. And then we also announced that during a press conference in Tallahassee. That week, partners held landing reenactments, galas, and other festivities. The Florida Department of State launched the Florida Stamp that week with the United States Postal Service during a ceremony in St. Augustine. The Florida Cabinet also held their monthly meeting in St. Augustine while taking part in many of those activities, such as the early morning cannon firing at the Castillo San Marcos and observing the reenactments along the St. Johns River. One of the biggest events for Viva Florida 500 was the visit of the replica 16th century vessel El Galeon. And that ship traveled from Spain to Puerto Rico, where the crew began the recreated journey that Juan Ponce de Leon made in 1513, which was from Puerto Rico to Florida. Once arriving in Florida, the crew stopped in Miami, in Cape Canaveral, Fort Lauderdale, and St. Augustine. The public were invited to tour the ship while it docked in each location, and in addition to learning about the science of 16th century navigation and the conditions of travel back then, patrons enjoyed an exhibition about Florida's history and diverse cultural heritage provided by the Florida Department of State, and that was an internal partnership which we are very grateful for producing that exhibit for the Museum of Florida History and Florida Memory, as well as the staff here in Viva Florida 500 offices. The visit of the incredible vessel was made possible by a collaboration between the Florida Department of State, Visit Florida, the Now Victoria Foundation, the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau, the National Air, Sea, and Space Foundation, Florida's Space Coast, the Greater Fort Lauderdale Convention and Visitors Bureau, the St. Augustine, Ponte Vedra, and the Beaches Visitors and Convention Bureau, and the City of St. Augustine's 450th Commemoration Commission. As you can see, just a ton of partners coming together to make this one big event happen. The visit was a great success, and the Now Victoria Foundation will sail El Galleon back to Florida in spring of 2014, where it's going to make St. Augustine its home port in the U.S. through 2015. The foundation is also looking to bring a second ship to tour ports all around Florida in 2014. And the details are still preliminary right now, but this is going to be a great opportunity for any coastal destination in Florida. So look out for more details on the return of El Galleon on vivaflorida.org, or you can contact the Viva team if you're interested in perhaps hosting the ship at your destination. And our details will be coming up at the end of this webinar. So there are more than 850 events, including exhibits, festivals, reenactments that incorporate Viva Florida 500. And the ones I've spoken of are just a couple of examples. Through our strong partners who are as wide-ranging as foreign governments, such as Spain and France, who have both sent military ships to tour Florida and facilitated many other events, through to individual artists that are sharing the story of Florida history through their work. We are continuously amazed at the creativity and dedication of everyone organizing these events. Thank you all for your efforts. In addition to the event partners, Viva Florida 500 has a number of partners that have created educational tools and resources that are available now and for years to come to help teach about Florida's rich and diverse culture and history. We mentioned the great work of the Florida Humanities Council, but we're also lucky to work with many other motivated individuals and organizations. To cite just a few of these educational highlights, first, the French Heritage Trail, which is a product of a partnership between the Department of State's Division of Historical Resources, Florida State University, the Office of the Consul General of France in Miami, and the Alliance Française. This online resource can be found through the Explore section on vivaflorida.org and will be available in print by 2014. Florida's Chief Financial Officer, Jeff Atwater, also launched a special website on his Your Money Matters website. It's called Florida's Financial History, and it teaches about the origins of some of Florida's top industries today, from transportation and Florida's land boom to agriculture and technology. That useful site also gives a wonderful overview of the origins of Florida's tourism industry. The CFO's office is also holding a competition for K-12 based upon the information contained in the website, and the deadline for that competition is actually today. So if you know any last-minute K-12ers who want to enter the competition, today is the deadline. We're also lucky to have a great partnership with the University Press of Florida, who have this year published a series of historical and cultural themed books and identified those books as quincentennial books. All of them have the Viva Florida 500 logo on the inside sleeve, so you know when you pick it up, the book was published as part of the Viva Florida 500 year commemoration. Excuse me, there have also been a number of films made for Viva Florida 500. One of note includes the filming of a signature event that took place in 2013 called Ponce de Leon Landed Here, produced by the Florida Historical Society, and that's a live courtroom drama where the landing place of Ponce de Leon is debated. And it's available to view on our website, and it's being made available to teachers statewide. It's a really fun way to learn about history. And another film to mention is the film called The French in Florida, which is a really brilliant film documenting the early landing by Jean Ribault, the French captain who landed in Jacksonville in 1562, and uses the etchings of Theodore de Bry, whose work was based upon drawings and paintings of Jacques Lemoyne, who was the first European to depict the people and the lifestyle of native Floridians. And the film was produced by the University of Florida's Digital Worlds Institute. I know many hope this will be available soon for statewide distribution, again as an educational resource for teachers. One last film to highlight is a 30-minute documentary about Florida's 500 years of history, produced by Sachs Media Group in partnership with the Friends and the Museums of Florida History, Florida League of Cities, Florida Lottery, and Florida Blue. Again, more great partnerships, people working together to get these things together and done. It was broadcast in 11 major markets, including Miami, Orlando, Pensacola, Tallahassee, Jacksonville, and Fort Myers. The program is distributed in Spanish and in English. It used archival resources and artifacts that are preserved and curated in the Florida Department of State. Our staff in the State Archives and in the Museum of Florida History were invaluable in identifying these resources, and everyone involved in the making of this program is very thankful for their time and their support, which really made this such a great show. And we're excited to announce that the program has recently been nominated for an Emmy Award. And you can view the entire show, called Florida's Rich and Diverse Cultural History, on our website, vivaflorida.org, under Multimedia, where you can view a number of our other films. We've also joined with a few prominent partners that have produced select products for the Viva Florida commemoration. These official licensed products are available through the Museum of Florida History shop, and they're accessible on our website, vivaflorida.org. There were T-shirts that have been specially designed for the commemorative year by Guy Harvey. The design that's available through the museum shop is unique compared to any you will find elsewhere, because these are the only ones with the official Viva Florida 500 logo on the sleeve. You might also want to check out Ponce Water. While it doesn't claim to be from the Fountain of Youth, it is a refreshing drink from a sustainable small business partner who bottles their water at source here in Florida. Also, there's the unique scent of Florida that has been bottled by famed master perfumer Christian Louis. There are two scents, Florida and Florida by Night, and they're an interesting addition to commemorative activities honoring the ties between France and Florida. The launch event and the overall partnership represents a gesture of international cooperation 450 years after France's first encounter in Florida.
Well, thank you, Rachel, for those highlights. It has been a very eventful year. Before we shift gears and look towards the future, we'd like to take a short break for any questions that have come through. One that I saw come through was one from Justin Flippin down in Fort Lauderdale. Thank you, Justin, for your question regarding specific dates for the galleons. And at this time, we do not have specific dates of the galleon's return. All we know is it will be in December or January at this time, and so it's kind of vague. But as soon as we know the exact dates and details about its return to Florida and to St. Augustine, we will make sure to push that information out to all of our partners as well as update it on our website. Another question that came through from Jennifer was regarding our relationship with Sachs Media Group and the educational video documentary that they did. This was a wonderful partnership with them. The funding for the documentary and for the Viva Florida initiative that was done by Sachs Media Group was actually funded by the Florida Lottery, the Florida League of Cities, and the Florida Blue were sponsors to all of that program. And it was assisted by the Museum of Florida History, the Friends of the Museum of Florida History, and the Department of State. We provided, as the expert matters and expert materials, we provided all of the information to make sure that the information portrayed was as accurate and historically accurate as possible. So that's kind of how that relationship worked. It was a great relationship, and from that we have this wonderful documentary that will live on for years to come. So thank you for those questions.
And we have another question. What has been the American Indian involvement in Viva Florida 500?
That's a really great question. And there has been quite a bit of actual involvement from the Native American community, as well as programs and lectures and educational materials that are produced that have been that talked about the cultures present before Europeans, and then the drastic changes that occurred at contact. Viva Florida 500 is always intended to be a time to reflect back on our history. We used to say the good, the bad, and the ugly is a commemoration. So there's certainly a lot of scope for bringing out this important history. And then there's also activities that recognize the present-day Native population in Florida. For example, in late September, Governor Scott announced American Indian Day, and that same weekend there was a gathering held at Thunder Music Park in Bradford County, and that brought together a lot of different tribal groups. It was the first annual Thundering Drums Native Gathering, and that was organized by a Native-run 501c3. And then there's also an event coming up from the Seminole tribe of Florida where they're reenacting the Voyage of Tears with elders from the tribe. And that's going to be a really interesting event, a historic event, in fact. They'll be traveling the route of one of the most famed progenitors of the Seminole tribe, Polly Parker. And it's an event in collaboration with the Department of Environmental Protection, Department of State, among others, including the City of St. Marks. It's going to start out in Egmont Key on November 3rd, and it will culminate in a visit to the city of St. Mark's near Tallahassee on November 4th. There's information about that event on our website, vivaflorida.org, under events, and it's going to be a really interesting one.
Free and open to the public.
Absolutely. Beautiful place to go visit, Egmont and City of St. Mark's.
Absolutely. It'll be a great event.
Mm-hmm.
We look forward to welcoming them to Tallahassee. It's been a long time since they've been to this region, so exciting time.
Absolutely.
And while we have no more questions at this time, we encourage you to type your questions as you think of them into chat or the Q&A panel.
So that was just a highlight of some of the successes of Viva Florida 500. Again, these are all in part to our amazing partners that embraced the Viva Florida 500 initiative from the beginning and helped make 2013 be an incredible success. Please also know that we are working on a year-in-review document that will be available to our partners and will go into further detail about 2013 and the Viva Florida 500 partnerships and successes. We now want to take a moment and describe the future of Viva Florida 500 as we transition beyond 2013. As we began discussions about how we continue Viva Florida 500, we looked for insight from the partners and people that played a key role in the overall success. We started internally within the Department of State by holding an internal SWOT analysis with the various divisions that have worked intimately with Viva Florida. These SWOT analyses have provided us with great feedback on the initiative and what we can do to improve it moving forward. Also, with our partners playing such a large role in the success, we felt that it was very important to hear from them on their thoughts and ideas for Viva Florida. So we developed a partner survey to gauge partners' interest and gain valuable insight as we transition beyond 2013. We also worked with the Haas Center out of the University of West Florida to determine how Viva Florida 500 and the dedicated promotion of Florida's history and cultural heritage this past year has impacted and influenced Florida consumers for in-state travel. We have some great results to share from that, which describe a greater trend for cultural heritage tourism in our state. Additionally, we are arranging meetings with some of our strategic partners to discuss the continuation of our Viva Florida 500 partnerships. During the partner survey, we asked a number of probing questions to find out how Viva Florida 500 has helped in the cultural heritage tourism community. A question we asked to gauge this was, in what ways did connecting with the Viva Florida 500 brand help to increase visibility and or visitation to your historic and or cultural event, organization, or site? The majority of respondents to this question confirmed that Viva Florida 500 added media visibility and added credibility. One comment added that being a part of Viva Florida 500 was as though they were an improved part of a bigger plan. We also asked, what do you feel that Viva Florida 500 is doing well? 71% of respondents cited public relations and promotions of Viva Florida 500 events and activities. The website was the second most popular element with 67%. And with regard to the website, 81% of people surveyed confirmed that they used the vivaflorida.org website, mainly for the calendar function. We also received feedback about the calendar, and as a direct result, there have been significant changes to optimize accessibility, which we will discuss later. We also asked questions to help us determine how Viva Florida should continue. We asked our partners how they could use the Viva Florida 500 platform in the future. Partners seemed enthusiastic about continuing to use the Viva Florida platform on marketing materials, websites, press releases, and social media. Currently, 77% use or have used the Viva Florida 500 logo on their marketing materials. And encouragingly, 88% of those who used the logo said they would like to continue using it for future events. We also asked who of our partners will be commemorating an anniversary in the next couple of years. 44% of our partners will be doing so. And of those partners who chose to tell us about their upcoming anniversaries, we are very happy to hear that 92% wish to use Viva Florida to promote the occasion. We also wanted to find out how we can best serve you, our partners. So by asking, what would you like Viva Florida 500 to do more of in the future, we found that 67% of our partners wanted more public relations. Coming in at a close second was a request for more networking and coordinating with other Viva Florida partners. 52% of partners surveyed requested more online content and storytelling, and 40% requested more social media. We suggested 3 tools that we could explore as an ongoing partner benefit: providing a traveling exhibit, offering cooperative advertising opportunities, and social media sweepstakes and promotions. The most popular tool was a traveling exhibit, which 67% of partners are interested in. 54% of partners see the benefit of cooperative advertising, and 30% suggested social media sweepstakes would be a useful tool for them. The responses from the partner survey were incredibly valuable and have allowed us to frame our approach as we look into the future of Viva Florida. We also found that there is significant value in the marketplace, which we learned from our consumer survey conducted by the Haas Center. The results came from an extensive 50-question, bilingual in both English and Spanish, telephone-based survey interview administered to 1,001 participants across the state. In this consumer-based study, a 10% market penetration was identified. More specifically, 10% of respondents, which is equivalent to 2 million Floridians, are aware of the Viva Florida 500 brand. This may not sound like an impressive percentage, but when you look at the fact that Viva Florida 500 had no dedicated funding for the initiative and no marketing dollars, a 10% market penetration in the 3rd largest consumer market in the country is actually a very impressive statistic. It was also reported that 30% of Floridians knew that it was the 500-year anniversary. And through the same study, the value of promoting cultural heritage tourism, as Viva Florida has done this past year, was given a dollar figure. Based on respondents who have traveled more than 50 miles to participate in a cultural, historical, or heritage event in the past 12 months, Florida's in-state cultural heritage tourism generated $2.55 billion in direct spending to Florida's economy. A summary of the Haas survey will be made available to our partners on the Viva Florida website in the next couple of weeks. So with the results from the partner and consumer surveys and internal analysis, we have determined there is value among our partners for continuing to promote Florida's history and cultural heritage together with this single brand platform. So before we move on, are there any questions about the research? If you'd like to ask a question, simply type it in the bottom right-hand portion of the screen in the Q&A section.
I don't see any questions specifically about research coming in, but Gloria asks, how can Viva Florida help Hispanic organizations who organize events?
In the same way we would help all organizations that are helping to promote Florida's history and culture, and certainly Hispanic culture is a part of Viva Florida, a huge part of Florida's history. So I would say that by making contact with us, we can help to promote your event on our website through our events calendar. We can also help to promote through press releases you may have, adding those again to our website. And the more we know about your event, the more we are able to pitch that to media who are asking us if there's something coming up, et cetera. So that's a wonderful way we've worked with our partners in the past. We can also, a number of people ask us about grant funding. And although Viva Florida 500 is unfortunately not in the position to give grant monies, there are some of our partners who offer grant cycles throughout the year, and we try to post those as they come up on our vivaflorida.org website. So we can help any of our organizations, any of our partners who are involved with us, just reach out and ask your questions. What do you need? And we'll see how we can help you.
Well, Mike asks, will the slides from this webinar be available online after the webinar?
Absolutely. We will have the slides, the recording of the webinar, as well as some of the resources, links, et cetera, that have been pushed out here today. There'll be a lot of that information as follow-up to anyone who's registered.
Yes.
And Justin asks, is the $2.55 billion reflective of solely Viva Florida events or any and all Florida heritage tourism?
It's any and all Florida cultural heritage tourism is what it is based off of.
And Jennifer asks, how did you formulate the questions for your consumer survey? Did the vendor guide this, or was there an internal marketing functioning responsibility?
We worked very closely with the vendor to formulate these questions. Obviously, he's the expert in the research field, and so we had ideas of what kind of questions we wanted to ask, and he helped us in formulating these questions to get the most accurate results possible.
And let's see if we have any more questions. I don't see any at this point, but as you think of them, please type those into chat or Q&A.
All right. Well, Viva Florida 500 and the activities of 2013 is but a centerpiece in a series of important anniversaries for Florida. In 2009, Pensacola celebrated its 450th anniversary of Spanish explorer Tristan de Luna's first settlement attempt in La Florida. 2012 marked the 450th anniversary of the arrival of French to Florida with Jean Ribault. And here we are in 2013 with the 500th anniversary of Ponce's arrival and naming of this beautiful land. In 2014, we will commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act, as well as the 450-year commemoration of Fort Caroline in Jacksonville. 2015 will mark the 450th anniversary of St. Augustine as the oldest continuously occupied city in the nation with the founding of Pedro Menendez. As mentioned earlier, Florida will observe other very important anniversaries in 2014 and 2015, and with the ongoing collaboration among network partners and the Florida Department of State, the initiative currently known as Viva Florida 500 will continue on as simply Viva Florida. And our language will shift to read, building on the success of Viva Florida 500 in 2013, the Florida Department of State continues to work with partners statewide to promote cultural and historical experiences through a multi-year campaign called Viva Florida, which promotes 12,000 years of Florida's people, places, and cultural achievements. Based on feedback received from our internal SWOT analysis and partner survey, we are continuing with the same logo that 77% of our partners already use. However, with a slight tweak, the removal of the 500 and the dates, and the addition of the tagline, Promoting Florida's History and Culture. This showcases our strong emphasis to promote history and culture in Florida. We will roll this new logo out on January 1st of 2014, and will provide the logo to any of our partners who have an event or activity happening after December 31st of 2013. As we move beyond 2013, the Florida Department of State's priority is to continue to support and grow the network of partners and encourage ongoing promotion of our diverse history and cultural heritage. Viva Florida will continue to act as the umbrella to promote important commemorations in 2014 and 2015, as well as Florida's unique historical and cultural sites. By doing this, we will build on the existing Viva Florida 500 platform and evolve the brand position to be the recognized leader in promoting Florida's history and cultural heritage experiences while sharing educational resources. We are currently making changes to evolve and expand the Viva Florida 500 digital platform, including updates to vivaflorida.org and creating unique content to tell the full story of Florida's history. I'd like to share some exciting changes and updates that are very much based on the feedback from our partner survey. We will be rolling out some social media promotions on Viva Florida's Facebook page in the coming months to highlight some of our products. We hope to continue these promotional offerings throughout 2014 and 2015, and we'll be looking to our partners to participate. We are also looking into identifying good quality and highly visible cooperative advertising opportunities, which we made available to partners. Recently, we were awarded with a BP promotional grant for $275,000 to execute a multifaceted, integrated marketing campaign to promote heritage tourism and highlight Florida's historical, cultural, and archaeological sites in Northwest Florida. With this funding, we are sure to bring a lot of attention to the Viva Florida program and to the Panhandle region. We plan to spend the funds on paid advertising, a social media campaign, an aggressive public relations campaign, and a media familiarization tour. Although the marketing will be targeting Northwest Florida, this will certainly bring a lot of visibility to all of Viva Florida's many statewide partners, and we will be looking to our Northwest partners to co-op with us, whether it be in an advertisement co-op, partnership with the media tour, participation in our social media campaigns, or working closely with our teams as we develop targeted story ideas. We briefly touched upon the updates to our digital platform to make it a more user-friendly experience. One of the major changes that has been made is the complete calendar overhaul. The calendar is now cleaner and easier for users to search and view upcoming events, and it is still very easy for partners to submit events, so please continue to do so. We have also enhanced the multimedia page and are working to update the historic sites page called Explore and the educational section of the site called Learn. In addition to the update to the site, we will also be working on creating and featuring new content to talk about Florida's 12,000 years of history and culture. On the social media side, we will be changing up our theme days a bit to include Featured Sites Monday, Trivia Tuesday, Weird Wednesday, where we will feature a strange or weird fact about Florida, Throwback Thursday, and Featured Photo Friday. If there is something that you would like us to share about your city or organization, please send us your information to be featured, and Madison Elkin, that Rachel introduced at the beginning of the call, would be happy to promote you via our social media networks. And since the entire brand will be shifting to just Viva Florida, the Twitter handle and Facebook page will reflect this as of January 1st, 2014. Our Twitter handle will simply be @VivaFlorida, and Facebook will be facebook.com/VivaFlorida. So now Rachel is going to share some other new and exciting partnership opportunities for Viva Florida as we transition beyond 2013. So,
thanks, Katie. Another partner benefit that 67% of you asked for is a great quality traveling exhibit that is going to be available at a reasonable cost. It's an 11-panel exhibit with an accompanying freestanding timeline, and it covers the story in Florida. It goes from early native inhabitants through European exploration, the 5 flags that have flown over the state, slavery and the route to freedom, among other topics culminating in the development of Florida as a state within the United States of America. We designed the exhibit considering many of our partners who have non-traditional exhibition spaces, such as schools, libraries, office buildings, and other sites. It's, of course, available to museums as well. The creation of that exhibit is a collaborative effort between Viva Florida, the Florida Memory Project in the State Library and Archives, and the Museum of Florida History. And I want to recognize John Grandage, Drew Erickson, and Tim Litzo for their involved work in that. It's a really great product. I can't wait to get that out in the new year. The details of how to sign up for the exhibit, along with other information, including the size and the cost, is going to be available on vivaflorida.org in November. So with all of these changes on the horizon, the bottom line for our partners is to stay plugged in. The best way to stay engaged is not going to change. We still encourage you to theme your events with Viva Florida, and that will continue to add to the statewide connection for your events as part of the larger, well-recognized brand. And don't forget to submit your Viva-themed events to the vivaflorida.org calendar. Please do use the new logo for any events occurring after January 1st, 2014. When you submit your event, there's a checkbox where you can request the logo. So make sure you select this, and we'll ensure you receive the appropriate logo, either Viva Florida 500 for any event up to and including December 31st, or just Viva Florida for any event after that. Also, check in with us on social media, and the handle for Twitter will change to Viva Florida, and Facebook is also going to lose the 500. If you already follow us, nothing is going to change. Just continue to tag us in your event photos and releases and keep up the conversation. If you do not already receive our quarterly newsletters, please sign up on the website. It's on the front page of the website where you can add your email address. Also, feel free to submit articles for possible inclusion about your events. We always include partner news in the communications and love to see new and interesting ways that you guys are sharing our history and culture. So don't forget that we have materials such as heritage trail guides, bookmarks, rack cards, and other informative brochures that can be included in your Viva Florida outreach. Feel free to request items for your events or your site, and you can do that directly through Katie or I, and our information is coming up in a moment. Finally, and most importantly, keep the Viva Florida team informed of your activities. We can help promote and market your events through our networks and through some of the co-op opportunities coming up next year. We're happy to work with you to help as you determine the best ways for you and your organization to build on Viva Florida. And you can email us also on Florida500info@myflorida.com. or again, just reach out to Katie or I. So with all of that, our webinar has reached the end, and we're now going to open up for a few more questions. We do respect your time, so do feel free to sign off, but if you can stick around or if you have any questions, just again, write them into the Q&A panel, and we'll do our very best to answer them.
Jennifer writes that this is a smart way to move forward after 2013 with other upcoming Florida milestones, but maintaining the momentum of the Viva Florida brand. Was this your intention before Viva Florida 500 began, or did this continuation plan come to you over the last year?
Thank you. That's a really interesting question, and it's certainly one that when we started Viva Florida, in fact, back it all the way up to 2008 when Visit Florida had Viva Florida, there was a foresight for commemorating all of these important anniversaries coming up. Of course, many shifts and changes and deviations along the way brought us to the 2013 commemorative year, where we always felt it very important to raise the awareness of all of our culture and all of our history. And so it seemed like something that would very naturally follow on. So I think it was always in the back of our minds, but as far as a cohesive plan that we are now rolling out and announcing to you, that's certainly a development of this year.
We've had a couple of questions come in about permission and logos. Could you go over that just a little bit?
The logos that have been sent out already, if you were using the Viva Florida 500 logo, we will need you to request permission again, just so that we get the new one out to you, as we could send it to everybody, but then some people won't use it and some people will. It's just as simple as sending in the form on our website, and that's something that we can do very easily. If you have another suggestion, we would certainly be open to it, but I think that since we don't know exactly who is producing the events, until you submit the event and check that little checkbox, I need the logo, we're not going to know exactly who to send it out to.
And we have a question from Mike. Will QR codes that pointed to Viva Florida 500 website reroute to Viva Florida after 12/31/13?
The website actually will not change, the URL for the website. It currently is vivaflorida.org, so it will be changes to the Twitter handle and the Facebook page. Vivaflorida.org will stay the same. And so, yes, any QR codes that have been developed to point to Viva Florida's website will continue to be routed there. That will not change. Thanks for the question, Mike.
And I don't see any further questions at this time.
Well, with that, I'd like to thank everyone for their time today and for taking the time to listen to us, talk to y'all for an hour. And thank you also for your continued partnership and support of Viva Florida. We are excited about the future of this program, and we are excited to have each and every one of you as our partners. So thank you in advance. The line will go quiet now, but we will stay online for the next 5 minutes to answer any questions as they trickle through. But at this, I will say happy Friday, and thank you again, and have a wonderful weekend. I hope it is as beautiful there as it is here. So thank you.
Thank you all.